Once upon a time, in a peaceful little village surrounded by golden fields and gentle streams, there lived a humble farmer named Aaron. He was known for his honesty, hard work, and a quiet kind of kindness that made everyone in the village respect him. Among the few animals he owned, there was one he cared for the most, his old donkey. For many years, this donkey had been Aaron's most loyal companion. Together, they had carried heavy loads from the market, plowed the fields under the blazing sun, and walked home under silver moons after long days of work. But as seasons passed, the donkey's strength began to fade. His legs trembled when he walked, his back bent low, and his once loud brays had turned into soft sighs. The farmer, though saddened, couldn't bear to overwork him anymore. So, out of gratitude, Aaron decided to let his faithful friend live the rest of his days in peace, grazing freely in the meadows, resting under the shade of trees, and watching sunsets fade across the hills. For a while, the donkey's life was calm and content. But one fateful morning, as he wandered near the edge of the field searching for tender grass, the ground beneath him crumbled. Before he could react, he slipped, tumbling helplessly into an old, forgotten well. At first, there was silence. Then came a loud, heart-piercing cry that echoed through the valley. The donkey brayed in panic, his voice trembling with fear. He tried to climb, but the walls were too steep, too slippery. Each attempt sent him sliding back down into the cold, dark dirt. Hours passed. The sun climbed high in the sky, then began to sink again. But still, no one came. Just when despair began to tighten around his heart, a villager walking by heard the desperate cries. Curious, he followed the sound and froze when he looked into the well. His eyes widened in shock. There, deep below, was the old donkey, covered in dust and trembling in fear. The man ran as fast as his legs could carry him to the farmer's house. "Aaron!" he shouted. "Your donkey! He's fallen into the old well near the hill." Aaron's face turned pale. Without a moment's hesitation, he gathered his neighbors and rushed to the well. When they arrived, they found the donkey crying pitifully, its sad eyes reflecting the faint light from above. The farmer's heart ached at the sight. He loved the animal dearly, but the well was deep and no rope or plank seemed long enough to pull him out. The men tried everything they could think of, tying ropes, lowering sticks, calling out commands, but nothing worked. As the hours went by, the crowd grew quiet. Finally, Aaron, filled with sorrow, looked down at the donkey one last time. His eyes welled with tears. He whispered, "My old friend, you've served me well, but you're tired now. Maybe it's time to let you rest." It was the hardest decision he had ever made. He turned to the others and said in a trembling voice, "Let's fill the well. It's better to end his suffering than let him stay trapped there." The villagers, though reluctant, nodded in sympathy. They began to shovel dirt into the well, slowly, one scoop at a time. At first, when the dirt began to fall, the donkey panicked. He brayed louder than ever, crying out in confusion. It was as if he understood what was happening, that those he trusted were giving up on him. But after some time, his cries grew faint. Then they stopped completely. The villagers paused, thinking he had surrendered to his fate. But down in the darkness, something remarkable was happening. Each time a shovel of dirt landed on his back, the donkey shook it off. Then he took a small step upward. Another shovel of dirt. Shake it off. Step up. Another. Shake it off. Step up again. At first it made no difference. But slowly, with every pile of soil that filled the well, the donkey rose higher and higher. He didn't scream anymore. He didn't panic. He just kept going. Quietly, patiently, determinedly. Minutes turned into hours. The villagers, growing tired, noticed something strange. The well seemed to be getting shallower. The farmer leaned over the edge to look inside, and his eyes widened in disbelief. There was the donkey, still alive, still climbing, his hooves finding strength with every step. "Wait!" Aaron cried. "Stop shoveling." Everyone stepped back as the donkey gave one last push, and with a final leap, he emerged from the well, covered in dirt but alive and free. For a long moment, no one spoke. The villagers stared in awe, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. The farmer's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were tears of pride and wonder. The donkey stood still, breathing heavily. Then he slowly walked away, limping, but proud. He didn't look back. Not once. He had just climbed out of his own grave. That evening, as the sun set behind the hills, the farmer sat quietly, staring at the empty well. A realization washed over him like a wave. He had almost buried something alive, something that refused to give up, even when everyone else had. Life at times will throw dirt on you, pain, loss, and problems meant to bury you. But the secret to survival isn't T in avoiding the dirt. It's S in shaking it off and stepping up. The donkey didn't escape because someone saved him. He escaped because he refused to give up. He used the very thing meant to bury him as his ladder to freedom. This story reminds us that when life feels unfair or when people lose faith in us, we must not give up on ourselves. Even when everything seems hopeless, there's still a way forward. It also teaches us about self-worth. The farmer thought his donkey was old and useless, but the donkey proved his worth by his will to survive. Never let anyone else decide your value. You are stronger than you think, braver than you believe, and capable of far more than the world expects. So when life throws dirt at you, don't stay buried. Shake it off, step up, and rise until you see the light again.